Chapter 196, Temporary Alliance. These players were all from the big guilds. This could simply be seen from their levels. However, it was impossible for a single guild to be able to produce so many high-leveled players. How many guilds had acted out? 1, 2, 3, or more. Maybe even all of them? No matter what the number was, Yishu wouldn't be surprised. He clearly understood the current plight the big guilds were in. The dungeon's records were being held hostage by him, restricting their development in the 10th server. These big guilds weren't able to rope him in and they definitely weren't happy, but how could they surrender so easily? It didn't matter whether they were making their decisions based on emotion or reason. In such a hopeless situation, it was very common for people to choose the option of simply eradicating the direct cause. Don't leave the city for now. We're being watched by others, Yishu told Tangru. Only this complete noob might not have experienced this type of fighting and killing in a game. Where are you guys? He then asked Su Mucheng and Chao Yifan for their whereabouts. We're still in Desolate Land, Su Mucheng said. The enemies might not be limited to just them. There might be backup that will come later. Some of the lower-leveled players may not directly participate in the battle, but they could be messengers. Head towards a place without any players and we'll look for an opportunity to group, Yishu messaged. Okay, we'll send you our coordinates from time to time, Su Mucheng replied. Steamed Bun, where are you? Yishu decided to instruct Steamed Bun Invasion on what to do next. I'm at the outskirts of Kanji City, near Hades Village, Steamed Bun Invasion replied. Oh, not bad. You've already run there, Yishu praised. Steamed Bun Invasion, this guy, even though he was a noob at Glory, it seemed like he had played quite a few games before. He had already taken the lead and found an area without many players. Hades Village was one of the small villages on the outskirts of Kanji City. Players would only come here from time to time for a few quests. Besides a few NPCs for quests, 1, there weren't any monsters, and 2, there wasn't good scenery so no one would come here, even if they were bored. This was the best type of place to escape to. If not, then whether it was a leveling area or a safe area, there would be players from big guilds everywhere. There would be nowhere to hide. Yeah, it's the closest place. Steamed Bun Invasion's reply made Yishu realize that he had thought too highly of Steamed Bun Invasion. Did you throw them off yet? Yishu asked. I'm looking, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Be careful, Yishu said and had Lord Grim look behind him. The crowd of level 33 players still hadn't given up. They were all chasing behind him. On this strip of flat land, there was nowhere to hide. Yishu also needed to find a place similar to Hades Village, so there was where he was heading towards. What's going on? A voice asked, not from the game. Yishu turned his head and saw Tangru was at the front desk looking at him. It's probably players from the big guilds. We took their dungeon records, which is something they care a lot about, Yishu summarized the situation. Because they weren't able to take the dungeon records, they resorted to this. Tangru looked down on them. Who allowed us to be so amazing? Yishu laughed. What do we do now then? Tangru asked. Go to the official site and look up the Heavenly Domain Guild rankings. Any of the first 20 ranks could be our enemy right now. Take note of their guild names and keep a lookout for those names in-game. Walk around in Kanji City and try to go to places with fewer players. Also, check if there are any characters following you. Once your critically ill state has worn off, look for an opportunity to leave the city unnoticed and I'll meet up with you, Yishu said. Okay, Tangru nodded her head. Desolate Land leveling area. After finding out where Cleansing Mist and 1-inch Ash were, quite a few players had joined in on the chase. Some were level 33 elites, while others were normal, second-rate characters. Even though they hadn't been required to do so, after knowing about the affair, they voluntarily joined in. Seeing a destroyed, empty house, Cleansing Mist and 1-inch Ash seized the opportunity to rush into it. The number players chasing behind them hadn't decreased though. There even appeared to be more of them. Cleansing Mist looked out from the window on the left while 1-inch Ash looked out from the window in the rear. There's no one here, Chao Yifan called. Go, Su Mucheng had her character run out. The two characters jumped and crouched in midair, escaping from the rear window. There really weren't any players behind the house, so the two of them took advantage of the fact that their chaser's view was blocked, and sprinted away. They jumped gently over a dirt wall, and when they landed on the ground, they crouched and moved along the wall. Over here, Chow Yifan carefully paid attention to the surroundings, while leading the way. Places with fewer monsters will naturally have fewer players. Having little confidence in himself, he explained his reasoning towards Su Mucheng. Yeah, let's hurry, Su Mucheng said. This was her thought as well. The dirt wall didn't stretch too far. Even though their sneaky movements would throw off their enemies temporarily, they would definitely be exposed soon. They only hoped that this would earn them enough time to widen the distance between them. When they reached the end of the wall, the two characters rushed out, one in the front, and one in the back. The two turned their heads to take a look. Their chasers were currently scattered around the outside of the empty house. Clearly, after finding out that they weren't there, they were looking around for them. As soon as they exposed themselves, the enemies immediately began chasing again. Cleansing Mist lifted her gun and sent anti-tank missiles towards them. However, they were too far away and they easily dodged it. Su Mucheng obviously wouldn't stop to fight with them. She continued to run away like crazy. Sis Mu, see those 4 houses ahead? How about we split up? Chow Yifan said. He already suspected that Cleansing Mist was Su Mucheng, but he was too afraid to confirm and too afraid to ask. He believed that he was relatively young in their team, so he called them brothers and sisters, Steamed Bun Bro, Sis Mu, Sis Ru, as well as the most honorable senior. I'll take the one on the right, Su Mucheng said. Then I'll take that one on the left. The two said as they entered their respective houses. They hid in houses again. The chasers behind them angrily shouted. The size of these empty houses in desolate land were all around the same. They were all damaged beyond repair. Some had windows and some had large holes in the wall. In short, there was always more than one exit. When their targets went in and jumped out through the window, they lost sight of them for a quick moment. They had been thrown off several times already by this sort of tactic, and the more those two moved, the more energetic they became. Spread out. Surround them, one person yelled. Except when they heard this command, only a few of them followed it. Spread out, the person roared. A few others moved, but the majority stood still. We don't all need to spread out, do we? We just need to have some go around and look, someone laughed. Clearly, this crowd didn't have a single leader. The plan to get rid of Lord Grimm through force had been prepared in advance, but they had only begun gathering after finding out that Lord Grimm and his team had come online. The experts from the big guilds simply chose the targets that they happened to be closest to. This type of temporarily put-together team didn't have a leader. Even though they all had the same goal, there were still obstacles. In the alliance Excellent Dynasty had set up, they weren't asking the guilds to completely unify. They only hoped that the guilds would put out some manpower. First, they went to find Tyrannical Ambition because Tyrannical Ambition was in the most desperate situation and naturally wanted a way to resolve the problem. This was why, even though the two guilds weren't usually cooperative, Chen Yahui was confident that the force sent by Tyrannical Ambition would be massive. However, forming an alliance couldn't just be said and done. It didn't matter if it was Tyrannical Ambition's Zhang Yu, or the 10th server's Cold Knight, they would be suspicious of Excellent Dynasty. Lord Grimm was a mutual enemy of their guilds, that was a fact, but at this moment, the other guilds should first be waiting to enjoy the show before acting. And the guild that should have been the happiest was Excellent Dynasty. However, it was Excellent Dynasty that had asked them to form an alliance with them. It was impossible for them to resolve their desperate situation, and no matter how much they thought about it, there seemed to be an ulterior motive. As a result, they probed each other out for almost 3 hours. During this, Chen Yahui invited several other guilds to participate. Only then did Zhang Yu and Chen Yahui gradually comply. In total, there were 7 guilds that joined in. Naturally, they all had an ambition towards dungeon records. Everyone was originally opponents, but currently, they were all set on eliminating their mutual enemy, Lord Grimm. Among this, what surprised Chen Yahui was that Blue Brook Guild had actually decided to reject their temporary alliance. Chapter 197, Opposite Direction. Blue Brook Guild was the first guild to think highly of Lord Grimm and ask him to help set a record. Naturally, they were also the first guild to try and rope in Lord Grimm. For such a talent to appear, as long as the guilds recognized it, none of them would be indifferent. But now, Blue Brook Guild was the guild that had been damaged the most by Lord Grimm. It didn't matter how they had first met. From Chen Yahui's eyes, Blue Brook Guild had to be filled with resentment. Their current situation was even worse than Tyrannical Ambition's current situation. Who would have thought that they would immediately reject his proposal without hesitation? Their firm attitude made Chen Yahui feel indescribably sour. He felt that Blue Brook Guild's calm and resolute rejection wasn't out of impulse or fear, but rather a strategic decision made after much consideration. Could they have realized that Lord Grimm is Yi Chu? Chen Yahui felt uncertain. Lord Grimm was Yi Chu. This was information that he definitely wouldn't tell others about. Yi Chu's awe-inspiring skill wasn't the reason. After all, this was still just in the game. If 5 can't beat you, then I'll send 10. If 10 isn't enough, then I'll send 20. If 20 isn't enough, then I'll send 100. It didn't matter how skilled you were, you would eventually be killed from being attacked from all sides. The reason Chen Yahui was too afraid to tell others of Lord Grimm's identity was because of Yi Chu's fame. A god for 10 years. How many Glory fans looked up to him as their idol? If this came out, Chen Yahui was afraid that a bunch of experts would run over to Yi Chu's side and beg him to take them in as disciples. Especially his excellent dynasty, he didn't dare tell them. Yi Chu's fans were even more loyal here. In the end, he decided not to probe out Blue Brook Guild to see if they knew. Fortunately, the number of guilds he had gathered was already enough. This time, not only did he want to exterminate Lord Grimm, but he also wanted to take down Yi Chu's team. Taking out his anger on Yi Chu was for his own selfish reasons. Chen Yahui was more concerned about guild matters. If he didn't take down the team, he had no way of effectively carrying out his plans. He had already experienced the battle strength of Yi Chu's team when they were together. The strength of Lord Grimm, Soft Mist, and Steam Bun invasion left him in fear, but this time, their forces had an even greater advantage in numbers. They had also surrounded them separately. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Chen Yahui listened to the reports from those beneath him and also led others to provide further assistance to their troops, but when he got to Desolate Land, he saw the players scattered about, running around with their targets' whereabouts unknown. Where are they? Chen Yahui saw players from his guild and went over to ask them. He ignored the others. Even though he was a guild leader, the others wouldn't follow his orders. It was even possible for die-hard Tyrannical Ambition players to secretly ambush him. Chen Yahui didn't doubt this. This alliance was simply to gather players to deal with Lord Grimm. There was no intention of becoming friends. They went into the houses. The left and right ones, an excellent dynasty player immediately answered. Then what are you waiting for? Chase, Chen Yahui said. We have them surrounded, the player said helplessly, while looking at the chaotic scene. Right, they were surrounding them. Our people, come here. Chen Yahui didn't attempt to command the entire scene, and only called over his brothers. Seeing their guild leader, the excellent dynasty players gathered together. You two stay here. The others come with me. Chen Yahui had 2 players stay in position. Positions that the other guilds weren't covering. Players had already begun storming into the houses on the left and right. They're not in here. The players yelled and leapt out of the window. Those who made a mistake wound up getting stuck in the window, causing players from other guilds to laugh at them. The others who had spread out and surrounded the houses didn't find any signs of cleansing mist and 1-inch ash. Hurry, 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 everyone shouted and immediately rushed forward, thinking that their targets had taken the chance to widen their distance. Under their eyes, in the empty house pressed between the house on the left and on the right, cleansing mist and 1-inch ash were quietly crouching in a corner. Cleansing mist slowly moved to an opening in a wall and took a quick glance outside. Ha ha, we've fooled them. Just as expected, they got used to us running in the same direction, Su Mucheng messaged Chao Yifan. They're not organized well, which was why I believed they would make such a mistake, Chao Yifan said. He had noticed their opponents' disorderly movements and had come up with this plan after consulting with Su Mucheng. Before, they had used blind spots to escape. Once, twice, thrice, they made an impression on their enemies. As a result, they made a sudden change in this terrain and didn't continue running. Instead, after passing through the left and right houses, they snuck into the house in the middle. Everyone hurried past these houses in order to see where the two had run off to. "Let's go," Su Mucheng told Qiao Yifan. They obviously couldn't stay here forever. When their enemies realized that there was no sign of them, they would definitely look around and find them. The two wanted to use this opportunity to escape in the opposite direction. Qiao Yifan's 1-inch ash immediately moved to entrance to the house, but just as he exposed half of his body, he immediately went back. "There are players outside," Qiao Yifan messaged Su Mucheng. "What?" Su Mucheng's cleansing mist also went to the entrance. "Sorry, Sis Mu, most of this escape plan had been proposed by Qiao Yifan." It was a rare moment of confidence, but in the end, he found that there were enemies left behind. Seeing that he had made a mistake, Qiao Yifan immediately felt upset and scared again. "No problem, rush out," Su Mucheng said as she moved out from the room. The enemies that had stayed behind were the players Chen Yahui had ordered. In reality, there wasn't any error in Qiao Yifan's plan. He just hadn't thought that backup would arrive at this moment, and there just happened to be a guild leader level character like Chen Yahui. The new players were naturally unaccustomed to their previous pattern. Chen Yahui also had authority over his players. Qiao Yifan's plan had been formulated throughout their escape, so new players hadn't been taken into account. As soon as the two saw cleansing mist rush out, they were surprised, but quickly sent messages to everyone. Cleansing mist's artillery shells flew over. The two immediately tried to dodge it, but Su Mucheng's anti-tank missiles were sent in 3 different directions, so it would have been better to stay still, but it was too late by the time they realized it. The smoke from the artillery barrage hadn't yet dissipated when 1-inch ash rushed in front of one of the players and used a ghost slash. The player hastily jumped back and dodged it, but 1-inch ash quickly matched it with a moonlight slash. The player wasn't able to react in time and was launched up into the air by the moonlight slash. A full moonlight slash followed after the moonlight slash, a very common ghostblade combo. The full moonlight slash caused the player to fly higher into the air. A series of gunfire followed closely after. Cleansing mist shot up towards the sky with a Gatling gun. The brother rolled about in the air and took a while before he fell to the ground. The other player had wanted to help, but was easily knocked to the ground by a few normal attacks from Qiao Yifan. Qiao Yifan raised his sword and cast a sword boundary. Cleansing mist entered it and fired a laser rifle and cannonball. The buff damage and explosiveness from the sword soul added to its might. These two unfortunate players didn't have any chance of fighting back. If they weren't rolling around in the sky, then they were rolling around in the dirt. After a short moment, they turned into 2 corpses. Chen Yahui received the messages from the 2 who stayed behind and immediately led his excellent dynasty players to return and chase them. The other guild's players saw this and stared blankly. Without anyone guiding them, they just did what everyone else did and followed along. In the end, when they returned to the rooms, there was no sight of them. "Where are you?" Chen Yahui asked the 2 players. "Where are they?" the other guilds all asked Chen Yahui. "Dead." Those two's replies were quick, but Chen Yahui wasn't able to reply to the other players. Everyone split up and searched. Chen Yahui looked around and then helplessly said, "There were quite a few destroyed houses, walls, and holes, and it wasn't easy to check every one of them." F***CK, what are we looking for? The other guild's players didn't know what had happened and were cursing. "Those 2 players hid over here and took the opportunity when we rushed out to kill our 2 brothers. Right now, we don't know where they escaped to." Chen Yahui wasn't happy either, but had no choice but to explain it to these people. With this, there was nothing they could complain about. Search. Everyone split up and searched around, but they didn't know that Cleansing Mist and 1-inch Ash had already returned to the destroyed house and jumped out of the window, playing another game of opposite direction. Chapter 198, A Bro at the Bottom of a Well. Outskirts of Kanji City, Hades Village. Inside a dried-up well, Steamed Bun Invasion stood upright and exposed a small bit of himself in order to take a quick sweep of the surroundings. Initially, Steam Bun Invasion had randomly hopped down during his escape. His reason for doing so, because it was close. Unexpectedly, this seldom visited well gave him a hiding place. Steam Bun Invasion had bravely begun a game of hide and seek with his pursuers. The originally tranquil village had become a noisy mess because of Steam Bun Invasion's intrusion. The NPCs were still calmly following their predetermined routes, but the rampaging footsteps of a dozen players, who were chasing Steam Bun Invasion, resounded throughout the village. The communication between them also came into Steam Bun Invasion's ears from time to time. Steam Bun Invasion hastily ducked down and listened intently to what his pursuers were saying. Where'd he go? He can't have run too far. He has to be in the village. What a cunning guy to run to such a place. Some footsteps were far. Some were close. They were clearly looking everywhere. Steam Bun Invasion was listening and just happened to be pondering whether he should stand up straight to take a quick glance around, when a white light suddenly flashed in front of him and a character appeared. Not waiting for Steam Bun Invasion to open his mouth, that character cried out in fright, "Who are you?" Quiet. Steam Bun Invasion hurriedly stopped the person from saying anything more. What a coincidence. To think I'd bump into someone in this type of place. This person had absolutely no idea what was going on and continued talking. Steam Bun Invasion heard footsteps coming closer and closer. He didn't know whether it was because of the noise coming from here. Even though this type of hiding place was difficult to find, if he was found, then it'd be difficult to escape from. Steam Bun Invasion understood this, so as soon as he heard footsteps coming closer, he wouldn't take any risks and immediately jump outside to escape. Just as he was about to jump out, he suddenly heard the guy in front of him shout out loudly, "Huh? Steam Bun Invasion? Are you the Steam Bun Invasion in Lord Grimm's team on the Dungeon Record rankings?" "Yep, that's me, but right now, I don't have time to accept your interview. I'm currently hiding from an intense chase. I'm about to rush out," Steam Bun Invasion said with a low voice when he suddenly leapt out from the well. He looked around him and sure enough, people were heading towards the well. Seeing him come out, they immediately shouted, "He's over here." Steam Bun Invasion didn't stop. As soon as he landed on the ground, he took off. "Hey, wait up!" The person in the well yelled and then immediately took off too. However, he didn't use enough strength and didn't jump high enough. His character's 2 feet hit the side of the well, and he was knocked back into it. None of the pursuers knew who this guy was, so they also called, "There's even one waiting to ambush us here." "Uh-oh. It might be a trap," someone said. Some of the players immediately stopped, fearing that there might be hidden troops hiding in the well. The number of players chasing Steam Bun Invasion wasn't as numerous as the number of players chasing Su Mucheng and Chao Yifan, though because of this, they were more unified. There were a dozens players here, from a total of 2 guilds, and they weren't mortal enemies like Tyrannical Ambition and Excellent Dynasty either, so there was room for discussion. In this short moment of hesitation, that brother in the well used enough strength this time and jumped out of it. This character was wearing cloth armor and his hands clutched a magic rod, indicating that he was a mage. After jumping out of the well, he ignored the pursuers and chased after Steam Bun Invasion. Seeing him run, the players realized that it didn't seem to be an ambush. The chances of one were too small, so they immediately began chasing. Each of the 2 guilds had separate leaders, so there wasn't much confusion. The pursuers chased after him closely. Steam Bun Invasion hastily glanced around to see if there were any places to hide, like before. Just as he was looking, he heard someone yell from behind him, "Run towards the left." The voice sounded a bit familiar. Steam Bun Invasion didn't think too much about who had said it and headed towards the left. There wasn't anything special to the left, only an ordinary straw cottage. Steam Bun Invasion ran behind the straw cottage and temporarily left his pursuer's line of sight. "Jump in from that window." At this moment, that voice came again. Steam Bun Invasion searched for the so-called window when he realized who the person giving him directions was. It was that bro he met at the bottom of the well. "You're a really good guy," Steam Bun Invasion said, and saw which window the bro was referring to and jumped in. The bro from the bottom of the well quickly caught up and crouched down to jump in like Steam Bun Invasion. The first time, he crashed into the window sill and fell down. The second time, he crashed again and fell. The third time, Steam Bun Invasion was at a loss. "What are you doing?" I'm jumping in, the bro from the well said. I really can't tell, Steamed Bun Invasion said. The bro from the well understood that he wasn't skilled enough. His movements weren't precise enough. After failing 3 times, he gave up and continued to run left. Hey, where are you going? Steamed Bun Invasion stuck his head out and asked him. Put your head back. Add me as a friend and then let's talk, the bro from the well ran as he turned his head back to say. Steamed Bun Invasion pulled back his head and received a system prompt, concealed light requests to be your friend. After accepting the invite, he received a message from Concealed Light, after 8 seconds, come out through the door. Even though Steamed Bun Invasion didn't know what was going on, he did as he was told. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then ran out of the straw cottage's door, bumping into Concealed Light, who had just come in from the entrance. Over here, Concealed Light led the way, while Steamed Bun Invasion followed. The two weaved around Hades' village. At first, they could still hear the footsteps and voices of the pursuers, but gradually, the sounds died down and seemed to have returned to the sounds of the NPCs' slow steps and calm village. Did we throw them off? Steamed Bun Invasion glanced around. Quiet. After confirming the situation, it was Concealed Light's turn to warn Steamed Bun Invasion. One of Steamed Bun Invasion's strength was that he was able to listen to others' suggestions and immediately shut his mouth. At this moment, Concealed Light's line of sight fell to the sandstorm claw that Steamed Bun Invasion was holding, a brawler weapon. Your weapon isn't an orange weapon? Concealed Light suddenly asked. Yeah. Why don't you use one? I don't have one. What do you mean you don't have one? It was too expensive. Senior wouldn't buy it for me. The two talked like this with one asking and one replying, but they weren't on the same page. This Concealed Light was that author of the Idiots series, the level 32 summoner, Concealed Light, and was absolutely confident in his judgment. He was certain that Lord Grimm's team all had orange equipment, but seeing that Steamed Bun Invasion didn't have one, he refused to believe his judgment was wrong. His intent wasn't being picked up by Steamed Bun Invasion, who was answering the questions honestly. Senior? You mean Lord Grimm? Concealed Light said. Yeah. You know him? Steamed Bun Invasion was pleasantly surprised. I don't, Concealed Light said, but was still confused on how his judgment had been wrong. How do you not have an orange weapon? Because we didn't have enough money, Steamed Bun Invasion replied as before. Their footsteps are coming closer. Steamed Bun Invasion suddenly heard footsteps. Let's go along this road. We'll definitely be able to run back to the city before they catch up. Concealed Light began running forward. I'm not going back to the city, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Then where are you going? I'm getting ready in a bit to meet up with Senior, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Are you going back to the city? That's perfect. You can lead them away and I'll be good then. Concealed Light coughed up blood. Shouldn't he be the one without any problems? He still didn't know why Steamed Bun was being chased. The only reason he was helping Steamed Bun Invasion was because he was a member of the Dungeon Record team, one of his research subjects, a character whose equipment he had deduced. A luxurious orange-equipped team. This was an unrealistic argument and Concealed Light understood this. Compared to the other Idiots guides, he spent more time for the Boneyard Record. Unfortunately, that was the only conclusion he could come up with. He was absolutely confident, but he just couldn't convince others of it. He really hoped that he could verify his judgment, but he was never able to. Even after knowing that Steamed Bun Invasion didn't have an orange weapon, Concealed Light refused to give up. Steamed Bun Invasion's very casual suggestion to let Concealed Light lead the pursuers away did make him want to cough blood, but he wouldn't argue over something like this. He turned his head to look at Steamed Bun Invasion and suddenly shouted, "Wow! You're level 31 now? You've probably switched equipment. You previously used a level 28 orange weapon, right?" Nope. I've never used one before, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Impossible, Concealed Light was concerned about this. Why aren't you going back to the city? They're coming closer, Steamed Bun Invasion was concerned about this. They're not chasing me, so why should I care, Concealed Light said. What? Then why are you running? Steamed Bun Invasion asked in curiosity. Concealed Light was speechless. If you won't run, then I'll be running. Once Steamed Bun Invasion saw that he wasn't going to lure them away and there was no way he could stay in the same place for too long, he immediately began running again. No, you can't go that way. Seeing where Steamed Bun Invasion was running, Concealed Light blurted out. Chapter 199, The Escape Member, Concealed Light. Concealed Light and Steamed Bun Invasion weren't friends. It was just that when he found that Steamed Bun Invasion had run onto a route where he would be quickly discovered, his auto-correct function activated and autonomously shouted out. Okay, then where should I run to? Steamed Bun Invasion immediately returned. Over here, Concealed Light continued to lead the way. Where are you guys meeting up at? Concealed Light asked. He might as well just send him there. I dunno, Steamed Bun Invasion said bluntly. Concealed Light seemed to have stumbled on the flat ground. It looked as if he had accidentally pressed the crouch command. In that instant, his finger had clearly touched the wrong key. If you don't know, then where are we running to? Concealed Light said. How should I know? You're the one leading, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Concealed Light coughed up blood. You say a place and I'll bring you there. Wait, let me ask. Steamed Bun Invasion sent a message to Lord Grimm. Where are you right now? Yishu asked. Hades Village. What? You're still there? Have you escaped yet? Yishu asked. Not yet. How many pursuers are there? Yishu asked. Let me ask. Steamed Bun Invasion replied. Ask. Yishu was confused. Hey, how many players are over there? Steamed Bun Invasion asked the lead, Concealed Light. How should I know? It's not like they're chasing me. Maybe a dozen or so, Concealed Light said. A dozen, Steamed Bun Invasion answered Yishu's question. How'd you find out? Yishu had a hard time understanding. I met a bro at the bottom of a well and he told me, Steamed Bun Invasion replied. A bro at the bottom of a well? Yishu was getting more and more confused, but thinking of Steamed Bun Invasion's brain, he didn't ask to find out. Come to Kanji Forest, Yishu replied. Glory's map didn't only consist of uninterrupted leveling areas. There were also quite a few commonplace transition maps. Similar to the numerous villages scattered around the outskirts of Kanji City, these places were mostly used for quests. Kanji Forest was this type of place. Outside of Kanji City, it was a forest close to Line Canyon. When there weren't players there for quests, it was even more empty than those small villages. We're meeting up at Kanji Forest, Steamed Bun Invasion quickly reported to Concealed Light. Here, Concealed Light immediately figured out which direction to go in. Steamed Bun Invasion didn't say anything further and directly followed behind him. Concealed Light felt a bit lonely as well as confused. Isn't this Steamed Bun Invasion too simple? It's not like we know each other, how could he just follow along without even asking who I am? Concealed Light was puzzled over this question, but more importantly, he wanted to obtain approval. Every one of the guides Concealed Light had published had been seen by readers as nonsense, making him feel very angry. His guides were all correct. Why did those people say his guides were unrealistic? Why weren't they saying their skill wasn't good enough? At this moment, he was leading Steamed Bun Invasion away from the pursuers with ease. Yet this Steamed Bun Invasion wasn't even asking him how he could do it. Concealed Light felt very lonesome. He finally couldn't take it anymore. Do you know why we have to run this way? Why? Steamed Bun Invasion blurted out. Because the pursuers are around 5 coordinates away from us. By going in this direction, the positions of those 5 coordinates behind us are held by 4 houses that are blocking their view. If we went that direction you were previously going along, they'd have been able to find you in less than 10 seconds, Concealed Light happily explained. He was looking forward to Steamed Bun Invasion's next question. For example, how did you know that they were 5 coordinates behind? Oh, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Concealed Light's fingers went astray again. This time it was his right hand. He accidentally left-clicked and he waved his magic rod. So you're saying that the people behind us aren't able to see where we're going? Steamed Bun Invasion said. Yes. The following routes I'm going to bring you along will all make the pursuers unable to figure out where we are. This is why we're able to shrug them off so easily, Concealed Light said. But it looks like there are people in front of us, Steam Bun Invasion suddenly said. In front? Concealed Light looked forward but didn't see anyone. I heard footsteps. My 1.5 hearing, Steam Bun Invasion said. 1.5 hearing. Concealed Light was confused, but at this moment, just as Steam Bun Invasion said, a player suddenly jumped out from behind a rock. Maybe he's just passing by. If he's with those guys behind us, then our position's been exposed. From the route those guys will choose to take, we should kill him. Steam Bun Invasion had already gone up to kill him. Sure enough, the person behind the rock wasn't some passerby. When he saw Steam Bun Invasion, he immediately took out his sword and rushed forward, a blade master. Concealed Light had no choice but to enter the battle as well. As he moved, he began muttering, "Brawlers and blade masters have mid-range CC skills. Both sides will need some time to close in on each other. Since they will restrict each other, I should summon after going around the blade master, to his rear. Brawlers have Brick Buster and Sand Toss, 2 mid-range skilled. If the skills are used one after the other, then he can control the blade master for 10 seconds. With my movement speed, I can only choose to head towards the 10 o'clock position. Even though I'll be somewhat close to the blade master, there's a stone wall over there, which can be used to block the blade master's sword draw, so I won't actually be in his attack range. Then, once I get behind the wall, I'll be behind the blade master. First, I'll summon Thunder Spirit. The stun effect from the attack can be used to match with the brawlers. Quote. Hey, what are you muttering? Steam Bun Invasion heard Concealed Light whispering something, but couldn't hear clearly. While he asked, he rushed forward, sending a brick flying forward. F***CK. How can you waste your brick like that? Concealed Light saw this scene and immediately shouted. So what? Steam Bun Invasion replied to him and used the opportunity to close in while the opponent was dodging. This blade master wasn't weak. After dodging the brick, he drew his sword draw. Steam Bun Invasion rolled to dodge the sword light and reached in front of the blade master. He raised his hands and used an uppercut. The blade master moved back and dodged. He then followed up with a lunge to counterattack. This guy had clearly spent a few skill points on this skill. This skill no longer made only 2 stabs, but 4. 4 sword lights stabbed forth towards Steam Bun Invasion. As each one flew forward, Steam Bun Invasion leapt back. The sword tips flashed in front of him, but never hit. At this moment, Steam Bun Invasion swung his hand and threw a sand toss at him. Sand Toss was considered a magic attack, so the Blade Master's guard had no effect, but the low damage skill could be endured as long as he wasn't blinded. This Blade Master didn't dodge this Sand Toss and instead, turned his head towards a different direction. At the same time, he followed up with an attack and a triple slash headed towards Steam Bun Invasion. Just with this skill, it could be seen that this Blade Master wasn't ordinary. Concealed Light predicted that the two sides wouldn't meet each other in close combat for 10 seconds, but Steam Bun Invasion used a brick and a forward roll to directly close in on the opponent. Concealed Light was still going forward with his original plan, but while he was going around, because of Steam Bun Invasion's sand toss, the Blade Master's head suddenly turned to his direction, catching him. Concealed Light panicked, but saw that the Blade Master's sword was still aimed at Steam Bun Invasion. Steam Bun Invasion had used this instant to complete his movement. When the Blade Master's triple slash flew past, Steam Bun Invasion lifted his hand and clawed, clasping onto the Blade Master's throat, pushing him into the wall. Knee strike, slap, inject poison. Steam Bun Invasion ignored the Blade Master's struggling and used the time while the opponent's defense was reduced from the strangle to quickly send a few attacks forward. After the strangle finished, Steam Bun Invasion floated to the side of the Blade Master's body and accurately smashed a brick into the Blade Master's head, inducing a dizzy effect. Steam Bun Invasion smoothly applied poison to his weapon and followed up with a combo. The Blade Master was trapped against the wall and had no way of escaping. Any place he tried to dodge to was met by a block from Steam Bun Invasion. The two sides traded health, but clearly, Steamed Bun Invasion had the advantage. Not long after, Steamed Bun Invasion took down half of the Blade Master's life and beat the Blade Master into the wall. The Blade Master's life continued to drop until he fell. Steamed Bun Invasion looked around and saw that Concealed Light was jumping again and again behind a broken down wall and crashing into it. "Bro, what are you doing? Are you trying to rape that wall?" Steamed Bun Invasion asked. Concealed Light was extremely gloomy. He just wanted to jump onto the wall, but the wall was a bit tall and with his jumping strength, he had to grasp the distance and timing in order to succeed. But as he was trying, unknowingly, that Blade Master had already been defeated by Steamed Bun Invasion, yet he still hadn't jumped onto the wall. "Hurry up and run. They're here." By the time they finished killing the Blade Master, the pursuers finally appeared in their view and were quickly catching up. Concealed Light didn't try and fight with the wall anymore and quickly went around it. "Which way?" Steamed Bun Invasion asked. Over here." After seeing where those pursuers were coming from, Concealed Light continued to lead the way. Except this time, he was no longer as proud as before. "You have really weird tastes. What astrological sign are you?" This time, Steamed Bun Invasion took the initiative to ask. Chapter 200, PK 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 PK. Kanji Forest. Yi Shu told everyone to meet here. At this moment, he was also rushing towards there with his Lord Grimm. However, he hadn't fully thrown off the pursuers yet. Even though he had fully utilized his abilities and stamina to widen the distance, he had no way of completely breaking away from the pursuers. The other side had many players and any random player nearby could be one of their eyes. Escaping by using the pursuers' dead angles. Yi Shu was also using this type of method. However, as he ran, he suffered from a barrage of trash talk. PK, 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 PK. Right when it was almost midnight, Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree unexpectedly came online and once again began bothering Yi Shu to fight him in the arena. "I'm busy," Yi Shu replied firmly. "You can run dungeons later," Huang Shaoshan said. "If you know that I'm going to run dungeons, why don't you come on earlier?" "If I come on earlier, are you there? Are you there? Are you there?" Huang Shaoshan replied. Not today, tomorrow," Yi Shu thought. Today, he had gone to read Concealed Light's Idiot's Guides. He really hadn't been online in the evening and had only come on at 11:30. "You said it." "Yeah. Your word counts." "Yeah. Okay then," Huang Shaoshan said and then went quiet. These gods were both players with frightening hand speed. Yi Shu chatted while he made his Lord Grimm continue running. His speed hadn't slowed down much. However, after only quietly running for a few minutes, he suddenly received another message. Since he had to pay attention to Su Mucheng and the other team members' situation, Yi Shu had to keep his chat box open. But when he looked, he saw that it was Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree again. PK 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 PK. Not waiting for Yi Shu to reply, another message came. "It's tomorrow." A happy face emoticon even came after this. Yi Shu looked at when the message was sent, 0 hours 1 minute and 8 seconds. He was speechless. "Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You said, tomorrow. It's already tomorrow." Huang Shaoshan continued to type. "Come to Kanji Forest," Yi Shu replied. "For what?" Huang Shaoshan asked. "It's a long story. If you come, you'll know." Kanji Forest was completely silent. Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree came and looked around, but only saw 2 players who were leaving after finishing their quests. There wasn't any sign of Lord Grimm. "I'm here. Where are you?" Huang Shaoshan messaged. "Almost there." "Why here?" Huang Shaoshan asked. "PK. F***CK. I'm going to use my main account," Huang Shaoshan shouted. "Not in the arena. Real PK in the wild," Yi Shu replied. "You're 4 levels higher than me. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" Huang Shaoshan replied. "I thought you'd feel ashamed," Yi Shu said. "What should I be ashamed of?" "Don't you feel ashamed?" "Why should I be ashamed?" "That's good. As long as you don't feel ashamed. Hey, what are you saying? As soon as this message was sent, Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree left the forest and saw Lord Grimm in front of him, alternating between moving slowly and quickly. He was using the common, pro player technique for optimizing stamina usage and was running towards him. Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree met up with him, and just as he was about to say something, he immediately saw a wave of dust rolling forward not far behind Lord Grimm. What did you do? When Lord Grimm reached in front of him, Huang Shaoshan asked. Didn't you want to PK? Go up, hero, Yi Shu said. Are you joking? Do you know who I am? How could I bully normal players? Huang Shaoshan shouted. Weren't you asking why you should be ashamed? Yi Shu asked. F***ck. I wasn't talking about this. Huang Shaoshan felt depressed. He had used tomorrow to trick him, which Yi Shu responded with his own ashamed counter. Yo, there's quite a lot of people. What did you do? Huang Shaoshan looked at the incoming pursuers. There were at least 20 or 30 people. To gather up like this just for a single person, this was rarely seen. I set dungeon records, Yi Shu said. Huang Shaoshan stared blankly for a bit and then realized what was going on. He laughed out loud. Serves you right. To let you be so arrogant. To let you be so shameless. What's your identity? Stealing records from new server players. How shameful. What's so shameful about that? Right now, I'm just a normal player too. Taking records is normal, Yi Shu plainly said, but you probably haven't seen such a large mob in a while. Are you scared? TCH. How could I go against normal players? I'll keep my distance from you, Huang Shaoshan said. He really did let his flowing tree pull away from Lord Grimm a bit. At the moment, a large mob of characters stormed into the forest. There's someone here, quite a few noticed Huang Shaoshan's flowing tree. In this team of pursuers, there was a guild leader level character, Samsara's 10th server leader, Lonely Drink. He had failed last time to rope in Lord Grimm. He had been especially infuriated when the other side used Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to reply to him. In the current alliance, he was one of the more active members. When he heard where Lord Grimm's and his team's whereabouts were, he didn't choose to go to the nearest member, but chose to directly pursue Lord Grimm. It couldn't be denied that the reason was mostly due to his own selfish reasons. Flowing Tree, Lonely Drink saw this ID. He recited it and felt that it was a bit familiar. He's the one who helped Lord Grimm set the Boneyard record, someone suddenly shouted in the crowd. Some shouted out in surprise at Flowing Tree's appearance. Others were checking the dungeon record rankings. It seemed like Samsara's players were the calmest. They had a guild leader, and with a leader here, they only had to wait for his orders. He's with Lord Grimm. Don't be polite, Lonely Drink decided. As soon as Samsara's people heard their guild leader speak, they immediately rushed forward without hesitation. With people leading the way, the players from the other guilds followed as well. 30 members suddenly headed towards Flowing Tree together. F***ck, what are you doing? Huang Shaoshan was startled. How did he pull in aggro? He immediately had Flowing Tree run further into Kanji Forest. Don't let any of them go, Lonely Drink shouted. Those that were under him listened to him as well as a few of the players from the other guilds. A mob of players split into two groups. One group went to chase Flowing Tree, while the other group ran towards Lord Grimm. Yi's eyes response was the same as Huang Shaoshan's. He also had Lord Grimm run further into the forest. Flowing Tree wasn't too far from him, and at this moment, he understood what was going on. He began chatting angrily, non-stop. Yi Shu completely ignored him as if he wasn't listening. The two ran someplace and then suddenly split, one left, one right. Right at this moment, the pursuers saw the two split. Lonely Drink didn't hesitate and chased after Lord Grimm. A few players made a suggestion: if there are already people chasing on that side, then we should go to this side. As a result, the remaining players rushed towards Flowing Tree. Just as they began running, someone shouted, "Wait!" No one waited. Everyone continued to chase. This person could only run while saying, "I just searched up Flowing Tree. He's level 27. Level 27. Why are we chasing him?" Everyone heard this. Some players stopped because what he said was true. Level 27. At this level, the character could only run Boneyard, but that was already past them. The game progressed this way. The closer they got to the end game, the early game records would become less and less valuable. For example, the Frost Forest record. When the players were all level 20, when the record was set, everyone felt that the team was extremely amazing and that the guild was powerful. But this amazing impression wouldn't continue being kept. It needed other records to keep up the image, and it needed records for dungeons at the peak of the current state of the game. Only these high-level dungeons would be noted by players. At the present state of the game, it would be great to go up on TV for the Line Canyon dungeon records. Even if they weren't the final holders of the record, it would still be more valuable than setting a new one for Frost Forest. Plus, whoever held the final record could use it as proof of their strength. All of the experienced players understood this. The reason Chen Yahui was able to create such a movement was because of this. As long as they could kill Lord Grimm and his team a few times, they would be able to stall their leveling speed and restrict their development. As long as they could widen the distance in their levels, future dungeon records would be fought for as usual by the big guilds, and by the time Lord Grimm leveled to there, the records would no longer be as valuable. By then, the 10th server players would already be paying attention to higher level dungeons. By maintaining this type of level difference, it didn't matter how great Lord Grimm's strength was because the impact he'd have on the big guild's development would be greatly reduced.